Hello everyone. Today we're taking a free walking tour of London. You can find more free tours at this website. We're doing this one, but you can also take a tour of London Soho, or the Old City, or even a Jack the Ripper tour, if you want. The tours are free, but the tour guides rely on tips, so it's usually a very large group of people, maybe 30 to 40 people. And if everyone tips generously, the tour guide can make off with a couple $100s. So they have an incentive to do a good job and hope for some good tips. We booked the 10 a.m. tour in English and got to the starting point a bit early, as per our usual. And of course, looked around for a bathroom, again, our usual. But highly recommended, as this is a fast-paced, almost 3-hour walking tour with no bathroom stops. The designated starting point is in front of the Apple Store in Covent Garden. I was told there was a bathroom somewhere near or in St. Paul's Church, and after a short look around the area, I found it. It was clean and free in case you're interested. By the way, all the public bathrooms they used in London were clean, but not all were free. Some asked for 20 pence or swiping a card, and I had neither the 20 pence nor a card to swipe, so come prepared with a couple of pence in your pocket. Okay, once the bathroom situation was taken care of, we gathered together next to the tour guide, holding the red umbrella. There were actually 2 tours meeting at the same time. I believe the other one was in Spanish. Ours was in English. And you can see all these kids are part of a different group. This area seems to be a popular meeting place. We spent some time in the Covent Garden area, and our tour guide gave us an introduction about the area, and then after a bit we were on our way. He held up a red umbrella for us to follow, and then off he went. Fast, and everyone had to scramble to keep up with him. And then he would stop abruptly and say something, and then just as quickly start walking again. We walked down James Street and then abruptly turned down Floral Street. He showed us a hidden ear in the side of a building. I didn't quite catch what he said about that. And then we continued down Floral Street and then through a narrow alley to the famous Lamb and Flag. This building has been here since the 1600s, and it's been a pub under the Lamb and Flag name since 1833. Charles Dickens used to drink here, and probably everywhere else, but still, there's a lot of history these walls could share if only they could talk. And after a good history lesson from the tour guide, we were on our way again, trying to keep up with the tour guide. A left on Garrick Street, and then a right on New Row, and then a quick left on Bedford Bury. It was a challenge keeping up and also filming. Just follow the red umbrella, I guess. And then we made a right into a small alley-type street called Maycourt and stopped in front of the Coliseum, had another brief history lesson, and off we went. A left onto St. Martin's Lane. Thankfully, he stopped so we could catch up with him. I have to say, if you're a slow walker or have trouble walking, this tour is not for you. This point of interest is Bridges Place. It's an alley running alongside the Coliseum and is supposedly the narrowest street in London, only 1 foot 3 inches wide at one point. And onward we go. There are interesting things to look at as we're walking, and our next stop was in front of the Edith Cavell Memorial, a casualty of World War I. She was shot by a firing squad in 1915 for helping the Allied soldiers against the invading Germans. The memorial is right outside the National Portraits Gallery, just north of Trafalgar Square, which is where we're headed now. But before that, we have a stop at St. Martin's in the Fields. Reference to a church at this location goes as far back as 1222, when a dispute was recorded concerning the bishop's authority over the church. In 1542, Henry VIII built a new church on this site, which was later replaced in 1726 by the building you see here. And you can see the time is around 10:40, so we've been walking for about 40 minutes, stop and go all the way. And onward. You can see Nelson's Column looming over Trafalgar Square over in the distance. It's a busy intersection, so make sure to look right and then left when crossing the street. And across the street is the National Gallery. Need to keep walking. Finally, here we are at Trafalgar Square, named for the Battle of Trafalgar and Lord Nelson's victory in 1805, hence the ginormous 17-foot statue of him dead center in the square. There are statues and busts all over the square, and there's even a display showing the imperial measurements so that everyone uses the same standards of length for measurement. We saw something similar outside the observatory in Greenwich. We spent around 10 minutes in the square as the tour guide discussed London's history and pointed out London's smallest police station. Our tour guide continued to explain about the famous lions at the base of Nelson's Column. These 4 lions were designed by Sir Edwin Landseer, a popular painter in the mid-1800s. Landseer requested casts of real lions to work from, but those casts didn't come, and eventually he started sketching lions from the London Zoo and using corpses of lions to work with. The corpses started to decompose, and the result was some discrepancies in the form of the lions he sculpted compared with real lions. One example of this can be seen in the paws of the lions, which were based on cat paws rather than lion paws. The backs of the sculpted lions are also concave instead of convex. These little tidbits from the tour guide made the tour all the more interesting. I just wished he would walk a little bit slower. We continued on in the busy London streets, trying hard to follow the guide. Next, we came to an area called the Mall, a large red paved road, and at the very end of this road is Buckingham Palace, which we will get to later, but first, the reason why our guide has been running so quickly, maybe, is because of the changing of the guard ceremony, a highlight for tourists. This building is called the Admiralty Arch and marks the beginning of the mall. And right next to the Arch building is a statue of Captain James Cook, a British explorer.
This fella here, this is Captain James T. Cook, not to be mixed up with Captain James T. Kirk of the Starship Enterprise.
London is full of these statues and memorials, which adds to the charm of this very tourist-friendly city. Next, we stopped in front of the Duke of York Monument, learned that this was a monument for Prince Frederick, the second son of King George III. We learned some more facts and history, and then on we went. Walking quickly, we passed some more monuments, one for King George VI and another for Queen Elizabeth. By the way, there are bike tours of the city, not just walking tours, in case you're interested. Next, we turned down Marlborough Road. This is apparently a popular place for tourists and tour guides. Why? Because part of the changing of the guard ceremony will take place here in front of St. James Palace. Here you can see the timing of each of the activities. There are lots of tourists lining up, waiting for the show to begin. I'm not sure if our tour guide was looking for a good spot or just wanted to point out St. James Palace to us, but we stayed a bit while he explained more history, peppered with interesting stories, and we could see other tour guides doing the same. So this is definitely a popular place for the tour guides. And no wonder, at 11:25, the St. James Palace contingent of the Old Guard will leave from here, and the police are coming to clear a path, so we better get moving. Back down Marlborough Road we went, back to the mall, following the red umbrella. And now we're back at the mall, and you can see how crowded it is now. We're standing in front of the Diana, Princess of Wales Memorial Walk. Our tour guide says this is the best place to stand for the coming attractions. He also said if anyone needs a bathroom, please hurry and use the Marlborough Gates toilets and then come right back here so as not to miss the show. So our group staked out our positions along the curb and waited. You can see the crowds are growing, so we didn't dare give up our precious curb space, not even to visit the bathrooms. They call them toilets here, by the way. We didn't have long to wait. Here they come. And there's a cop on a bicycle making sure everyone stays clear of the street. And here they come. And they're turning down Marlborough Road to change places with the St. James Palace contingent. And after a bit of waiting, not too long, here comes the St. James Palace contingent. And that's it. Now we're going towards Buckingham Palace, and you can see how crowded the mall area is. We're trying to catch up to our tour guide. Thank goodness for his red umbrella. I think there are lots of other tours all converging in the same place at the same time. I thought I lost the group, and I'm pretty sure we did lose some people, but we kept up as best as we could. The red umbrella really helped keep us on track. We're passing the Victoria Memorial, which is a grand monument to Queen Victoria with marble and bronze statues and beautiful gardens surrounding the area. And there in the background, you can see Buckingham Palace. Oh no, we need to keep up with the red umbrella. Our next stop is St. James Park, which is right across from Buckingham Palace. By now, it was around noon, and we had been on our feet for a good 2 hours without a bathroom stop, but our tour guide just kept on going, like the Energizer Bunny, except we were getting tired. We tried to keep up as we went through the park, and it is a beautiful park with lush, grassy areas, ponds, and even pelicans to admire. It was a really nice day, weather-wise, so there were lots of people out and about, probably some locals mixed in with all the tourists. There are concession stands to buy food and picnic tables to eat at, but we weren't stopping for food, not yet. There was much more to learn about the park and the trees in the park from our tireless tour guide. We learned that the park was originally a medieval hospital dedicated to St. James the Less and subsequently enclosed for a deer park for King Henry VIII in the 1530s. There's a small lake, St. James Park Lake, with 2 islands, West Island and Duck Island. There's also a resident colony of pelicans, most of which have had their wings clipped, so they don't really fly much. And there's a famous bridge across the lake called the Blue Bridge, as well as a children's playground and a large sand pit. Our tour guide also pointed out various species of trees, including scarlet oak, black mulberry, and even an unidentified species of fig tree. There was some story about the mulberry tree. I didn't quite catch the whole story, but in the early 1600s, James I planted around 10,000 mulberry trees in order to start a silk industry in England. Something about mulberry trees and silkworms. I didn't get the whole story, but apparently neither did King James since the project was a failure. No silk came from this project, but there are still lots of mulberry trees here. We stopped to admire the pelicans and turned around, and then we couldn't find our guide. This was not a bad place to lose him. I think his next stop was the Churchill War Rooms. We will be visiting those tomorrow, and I'll have a video on that so you won't miss it. But we are tired and hungry and in dire need of a bathroom. So that's it for us. After nearly 3 hours of walking, we are beat. So what about the tour? Well, it's free, so how can you beat that? If we could find the tour guide, we will give him a nice tip. He really didn't pay much attention to who was walking with him and didn't seem to care if he lost people along the way, but otherwise he was great. He was knowledgeable and very funny. I hope we can leave a tip for him if we find him. Meanwhile, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, please hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Bye.